real. I like them real. Don't you like how the real ones are?
Real deal,
they're better, aren't they? The real ones. I mean,
better.
The fake ones will get the job done, but don't you think the real ones are better?
You guys have a clue what we're talking about? I don't think so.
You don't know at all. When you like to know.
Dirty thoughts.
Welcome to the MMA podcast. Karyn, Bryant here.
Alan Jouban, what's up, guys?
So, a lot of things we'll talk about today. Obviously, UFC 215. A lot of things happened. A certain fight didn't happen. So we'll get into that. Maybe look a little bit at Luke Rockhold's comeback fight against David Branch. First thing, I have a couple of things. I have a lot of family in Florida, and luckily they are safe. So I'm happy to report that. But any of you who had family in Florida, and now I guess in the Georgia area and stuff, who are going through it, definitely thinking of you. And for sure, I want to honor those being in 9/11 today.
9/11 today as well.
Yeah, so in Massachusetts, my mom and dad had over the years done different work with fire departments and police departments and stuff, and I know how hard those guys work in an emergency like that, so thank you for that.
Absolutely. I remember I moved to New York City into Manhattan a couple months after 9/11. It was in January, I believe. So a couple months later, everything was still obviously in the early stages of the rebuilding process. So I was always it was always a part of that. I was in New York for 2 years during those stages of still, they were still discovering bodies and whatnot and everything. So it was a crazy scene, but. Obviously, remembering people 9/11 today, and then, like you said, Florida, man, it's tough. I grew up in Louisiana, so I was always in the hurricanes.
Yeah, you got them. You know what that's like.
We would have the hurricane parties. We'd lock the doors, board the windows, and we'd get food and drinks and just play games for hours, until the electricity came back on. And now, looking at it from California, we're dealing with other things here with fires and earthquakes. But yeah, I feel for everybody back down in the South that are still dealing with the hurricanes. Yeah,
well, because that's the thing. Now they don't have power is the issue. So my folks, everybody's fine, family's fine, but there's no power.
The fortunate thing about this one, it didn't seem like there were, as of now, too many deaths that happened. I think it was only one recorded death as of now in Florida.
Which is actually great when you think about all the older people that live there and stuff like that. But yeah, so a lot to get to, and we have the clock that we're going to be putting up there is already okay. So I feel like, how should we do this first? Talk about the fight that did happen or the fight that didn't happen? Yeah,
we're going to have to talk about both of them. Let me first get off to saying, I was not fortunate enough to get to watch the fights live. I had to corner two different... On Saturday night, I cornered my friend Kyle Estrada in Long Beach. He fought third on the card. Then I drove all the way to Burbank, fought cornered my friend Brian De Rosario in Burbank. So I was all over the place cornering guys. I was on my phone watching Karyn's Twitter feeds and everybody else's Twitter feeds. So I'm going to have to go about this from what I gathered from the general census of everybody and then the highlights that I saw.
So, well, the storyline, obviously, with the Ray Borg, Demetrious Johnson thing, like that came out, and I was like, I can't believe that we're not going to see him fight for reasons. But one of the things was, I don't know if Dillashaw. And then it got a little weird because they said the UFC doctors deemed him unfit to fight. But then he made us, and they were saying it was a viral thing. But then the statement comes out where he says he's not going to work with his nutritionist anymore. And then they come out with a statement. So it does kind of make you go,
what's really going on here? So when he said the nutritionist, he said he came out and said, I'm not working with my nutritionist. You mean the guy that was helping him cut weight, or it was the supplement company?
Perfecting Athletes, which does a lot of the meal planning and
meal
the
preps,
weight cutting and all of that stuff, which a lot of other people work with, including Joanna Champion. You know what I mean? So it's just a little strange when... I mean, maybe you definitely, obviously you know better than I, but when you are cutting weight, your immune system is compromised, so it still could be a viral problem that emanated from him not cutting weight well, which I guess could be why you would blame your nutritionist, but they seem in a way, why you're blaming your nutritionist if all you caught was a cold. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally get it. I don't know if that was something that maybe before the fact he was unhappy with the way the weight cut was going and the viral infection or whatever it was just adding to it. But it's two different things, yeah. So it does make you kind of raise a red flag of what really was going on.
But now, don't you know? Because I know, like some people, I remember Koscheck used to walk around the last few days before a fight, or all of fight week with gloves on. Like, how much do you worry as a fighter when you're cutting weight? You know you're compromised. You know maybe you're not sleeping as much either because you're anxious. Like, how much do you personally worry about something bad happening and getting sick?
You know, I think and in this case, it rings true. I think it always depends on how big of an event this is, how big the fight is. And obviously for Ray Borg to get his title fight, this was the biggest fight of his career. He wanted everything to be perfect. I don't know exactly what happened detail-wise as far as what was wrong with him, but if he didn't feel right, as did Amanda Nunes a couple fights ago.
Exactly.
You can't fault him for not wanting to fight if he didn't feel right. I just don't really know what was happening with him. It's a shame. And it reminds me of when you said Josh Koscheck with the gloves. You remember GSP. I remember GSP took some time off. It might have been from the knee injury, and then when he came back, I remember Dana White saying, I've never seen GSP this. He was fighting in Canada, I believe. It might have been Carlos Condit, and he didn't want to shake any hands. Everybody in the interviews didn't want to shake a hand. He didn't want to risk it because it was such a long comeback and they had so much at stake. He didn't want to risk getting a cold during fight week.
Yeah, I feel bad. You know, they have a lot of media obligations. There's a lot of people breathing on you. There's a lot of like I said, handshaking. There's a lot of stuff going on. But that was the whole thing. Is that Ray online and everything has been like, look, they pulled me from the fight. You know what I mean? He wanted to make sure that it was clear that he didn't withdraw. Like you know what I mean? The doctors told him, you're unfit. They deemed him unfit to fight. So in that respect, it's not really his fault, and who knows what he would have gone through to try to make the weight. But you know, if you failed making weight twice before, this is your title fight now. Like, if I don't know who the blame is, but I know you guys want to be as big as you can, as long as you can, but like maybe try cutting a little bit sooner. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, with that said, it's good to know that he is saying he didn't pull from the fight. The doctors deemed him unfit. But with that said, if I did really want to fight, you let him know. Look, I'm good.
I would think you could convince him. Right,
you can convince him. Give me a test and I will pass it. It's because doctors will sometimes jump the gun too early. You know, if you're showing signs of nausea or something, to say, oh, whoa. If you really wanted to, he probably could have convinced them. But if he was mentally not all there or just didn't feel right that day, then you can't get too mad at him.
Well, DJ took it like the champ that he is.
Super professional with his statement.
Yeah. And so it's tough. They say they may rebook it for UFC 216, which is at the beginning of October. But that's a tough one for Demetrious to deal with and not get to fight.
I don't see a lot of fans going to be more energetic about it if they rebook it, because he was already, as we know, the smaller weight classes get a lot of shit. Not everybody's a big fan of the smaller weight classes. Demetrious Johnson taking this fight rather than doing the super fight, getting a lot of shit. He handled this complete professionalism, but with this fight getting scratched, canceled, if they rebook it, I think people are going to be yawning about it. He's really going to have to go out and make a statement in this fight.
Which is tough for him. So we're between rounds here, right?
You got 20 seconds of your rest.
20 seconds of rest. Get hydrated.
Cut me. All right, here we go. Get some water in here.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be hard for them to get, but if they book it for 216, isn't that Kukui and Kevin Lee also? So that fight's going to sell. That card's going to sell.
Yeah, and that would be the who gets the main slot?
Well, it's an interim title fight, and the lightweights are bigger, so it would be still Kevin. I mean, not the featherweight. So lightweights. It would still be Kevin and Kukui. Because their weight classes.
Weight classes.
Usually it goes by the heaviest weight class too, by the thing. But then there's been times when the women have headlined over the guys, so it is a little.
The weight classes normally reign supreme.
It does sort of supposedly anyway. I think they've on occasion changed it, but it used to be. If there was more than one title fight, the heavier weight class.
Even though Kukui's interim and
I don't know.
Borg.
We'll see.
And so what happens if we have 35 women and 35 men?
Right. Right on the same fight. I don't know. Although did that happen once with Ronda? I forget. But
Ronda always
gets. Exactly. It used to be by the weight class and this and that. So I have a question for you in terms of Amanda Nunes and Valentina Shevchenko. I know, like you said, you had to kind of follow along as you were driving.
Right.
By the way, did your guys win their fight?
Both my guys won. We went 2-0 in an MMA fight across LA. Muay Thai fight, 2-0 Saxon Muay Thai representing.
Nice. Hey, my tennis season starts this Saturday. Maybe you should corner me.
I'm kind of on a roll right now.
Apparently, you're lucky.
In the corner.
But yeah, so, and this may take a minute here to get into this whole one with her, but somebody had, I forget who it was, I wish I could credit them. They were like, whatever you do, don't put if you're ever on a fight card and Amanda Nunes is the co-main event and you're the main event, you're screwed, right? Because like, how many times is she?
That's the first thing that came to mind. It's like she always ends up replacing and headlining.
Right. But this fight was interesting. It was very close. And if anybody was out, you know, those of you who watched it, obviously, and those following along, I feel like the word close, if we could search how many times that word was used during that fight, it really, really was close. I'm not like, oh my God, Valentina got robbed. Yeah. I think it comes down to, for me, you know, to be the champ, you got to really beat the champ. I don't think it was a decisive enough point scoring really by Valentina. She tagged Amanda a couple of times, but it's not like she really, I don't ever feel like she put her in a lot of danger. Yeah. And to be fair, neither did Amanda do that to Valentina. Like I never felt like, oh my God, this is close to getting finished. I definitely had Amanda winning round 1. I definitely had Valentina winning round 2. 3 and 4 got muddy. And I gave Amanda 5 because of the takedowns and stuff. And even though there wasn't like a lot of damage inflicted and all this stuff, she still had the appearance of control. Yeah. And if she didn't get hurt, if it was tied 2-2 and you had that control and didn't get damaged yourself, I would feel like you're going to get that round probably. So
I was reading most of her tweets online and everybody else's as well. The general consensus that I gathered from not being able to watch a fight live but watch the live tweets was that it was pretty evenly split. But if I had to give a small edge, I think most people kind of ruled it like you. They said, you know, how do we score it? Amanda's got a couple takedowns. She didn't do much with them, but yet they are the takedown. And the deciding factor in a 50-50 fight is, like you said it, the champ. You have to beat the champ. You have to take the belt. This fight, reading it online again, not getting to watch it, reminded me a little bit of, I think it was the Jermaine Durandamy versus Holly Holm fight.
Exactly.
One woman was more aggressive. One woman was a counter puncher. How do you score it? Do you score the counter puncher who's moving, but retreating and landing shots as well? In this fight, I believe Amanda Nunes was outstruck by a small percentage. Outstruck by the numbers. And you never really know. They say like strikes.
The significant strikes and the power punches.
But you never know what a significant strike really is, because a lot of those aren't significant strikes. They're not flush. But at the end of the day, we have to see how we've learned. There's a rhythm here. There's something that we're seeing. And that is, in MMA, especially in the UFC, the way that they're scoring it is if you're moving forward and it's an even number, you're winning that round. Even though it's supposed to be damage is the #1 thing with the new scoring system, if you're moving forward and throwing 5 punches and you're moving backwards and throwing 5 punches and I'm the one moving forward, I'm winning.
You get it, right. So it was a split decision. So one judge gave Valentina rounds 2, 3, and 5.
2, 3, 5.
Yeah. And then one judge gave Valentina 2 and 3. And one judge gave Valentina 2 and 4.
Interesting that she gave the Valentina, one judge gave her 5. When didn't Valentina think she only won 2, 3, 4?
Something like, because 5 was the one where she was taken down.
Right.
So it is interesting. Again, everybody gave Amanda round 1. Everybody gave Valentina round 2. But then in those middle rounds at 3 and 4, it was a little crazy. I did think it was surprising that somebody gave Valentina the 5th round. That did seem a little odd to me. I mean, it is tough, and I know, that Amanda was really excited to prove to the point, because, the first time they fought, Valentina was just like, oh, if we had more time, because you were fading later in the round.
Questioning her gas tank,
exactly. So I feel like that was good for Amanda. That was something that she really wanted to prove, was that she could go into the later rounds, she could look later rounds, and so I feel like, excuse me, she sort of proved a point there to a degree. Yeah. But I'm actually surprised she. I don't know. I thought she would land more. Like
that Amanda would land more.
Yeah. So props to Valentina. I mean, she's very, very good.
But Valentina is one of the.
She's great.
I mean, you look at her striking level. I mean, she is at the top. I mean, Amanda is a good striker, but I wouldn't say she's she's not a dynamic striker. She's a powerful, heavy-handed striker with a big right hand. She's got other assets to her game, but that's what she's known for. Where Valentina is very dynamic. attack.
Oh yeah. I mean, so it's tough because Valentina afterwards, we're in between rounds now again, right? Yep. Yeah. So Valentina afterwards, when she's talking to Joe, she's like, "Look at her face."
Yeah, I saw that.
Because that was, and she, believes that.
So I didn't even get to see. I didn't even get to see Amanda's interview. Was she banged up? I mean, did she wear the damage?
No, I don't think she looked overly banged up.
I don't. That's why I'm asking, because I don't remember seeing either woman's face that banged up for a 25-minute fight.
No, and Amanda already posted. She was talking about how she obviously lives in Florida now and stuff like that, and wanted to get home and that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't think it was decisive enough on Valentina's part. I do think, though, Valentina obviously, she's done it, beats a lot of the other women in the division. Yeah. So I don't know if we're going to have one of those situations where you have like your Gedalia and you want a thing where Claudia is apparently the second best in the world. Yeah. You know what I mean? If Valentina's going to be the second best in the world, or if she's going to go to 25 where she could totally light people up, and whereas Amanda could go up to 45. So it's tough. I mean, and it'll be tough for her to try to get a third fight. I mean, there's not that much depth in the division with Sarah McMahon losing to Ketlen Vieira the same night and stuff, and Raquel Pennington's been out of it a little bit, so maybe she'll come back and be able to get something, but I don't know. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to see them fight for the third time, just because of the division isn't like huge.
I'm sure that's what she's going to be lobbying to run it back a third time.
Right, exactly. Sure. So I have a question for you. The welterweight division is so good. There's this guy that named Rafael dos Anjos, RDA, who looked awesome. Yeah. I thought against Neil Magny looked really, really good. And, he says he's gunning for the belt. And he says that if Damian were not able to fight Tyron, that he had actually been told sort of be ready and that he could have gotten that title fight with Tyron. So I'm curious how you think now he sort of fits in the mix, because being a former champion now, winning these fights, curious what you think of him at getting that title shot now.
Well, it helps him tremendously. I mean, not only is he putting on great performances right now, he's doing what he needs to do. He's winning the fights and he's finishing it, So he put Neil Magny away very, very easily.
It looked kind of easy and kind of easy. Tough and
he took a bit of a page out of Damian Maia's book, where he said, you know what, this guy is very good and mobile on the feet, but if I take him down, I could smash on him. And RDA has always been known for that. He's always been very good at having that pressure to come forward and smash, and he takes the guys down. And he was able to kind of just move through him very easily from the highlights that I saw. I mean, the highlight was the fight, basically. It was like a 2-minute fight or something. Well,
and he looks so powerful now, you know what I mean? And I know that after he had left Kings and he was going back to his Evolução or whatever.
I don't know where he's at now,
he was going to Singapore and this and that, so now it feels like he's got some...
Oh, Evolve fight team.
Yeah, right. But now he seems like things are coming together for him, and he looks really good. I mean, he looks really good, and I don't know at the division there if you got, Masvidal had lost to Damian and stuff, and but I think he's still kind of up there near the top and everything. But I think Rafael is making a pretty good case. If
he was an unknown, or not an unknown, but not a former champion, there's still a lot of intriguing fights that I think he would need to do to work his way to the top. Yeah. But he doesn't have to, because he is a former champion at lightweight. He is a big name in the UFC and has proven himself. And thus far in the welterweight division, he's been doing tremendous. He's been doing tremendous.
Exactly. And so if you have Wonder Boy and Masvidal, I believe, are on that Madison Square card, right? And so it's sort of like, he's there. Lawler came back and beat Cowboy, so Lawler is obviously always going to be a guy that, we're sitting there and he's ready. So I don't know if you put Lawler versus RDA for a title eliminator.
Now that you say that, that's an exciting sounding fight.
Because the thing about it is you could go right back to Robbie and Tyron. But you could make Robbie and RDA fight for a title.
I would love to see that fight. And you know what? If RDA would get through Robbie, then I say give it to him. Give him that next title fight or whatever. And it's a good tough fight for Robbie as well. He had that fight with Cowboy in his last fight, which he was able to pass the test in that one. Give him another guy who's up and coming. That's an exciting fight.
It's not a bad fight. And I know Tyron. I don't know. He fought obviously pretty recently. I know he still would love the George St. Pierre fight, which we know, went to Michael now. So I'm not exactly sure what is going to be the real next move for Tyron and how quickly he would fight. But he did, tear his labrum in his fight with Damian, like in the first round, I think it was. So it's probably going to be a while.
He's looking to have surgery?
I don't, I'm trying to remember, I mean, I don't think any of you guys ever want to get the surgery, right? I'm trying to remember if he was trying to avoid it or knew he was going to actually have to do it. I think he might actually have to do
it's kind of like, if it's not necessary, then we don't want to do it. But at the same time, it's like, if it's going to be a lingering injury, you might as well get the surgery as soon as possible.
I think he is going to do it. I think he is, but obviously that's
so he could be on the shelf for a little while.
Yeah, I don't know. But, you know, DeSantis, it was good. And the thing about Neil Magny, like, I don't want to say what happened because he's just fighting really, really good people. But I mean, remember Magny was on a tear at one point, what, 6-fight win streak, 7-fight win streak or whatever. And then he had some time off and this. So it's just, I don't know if it's just people change, things change, but I was quite surprised at how quickly he lost.
Yeah, especially because he works a lot on his jiu-jitsu. I mean, and I remember like in preparation for when he fought Damian Maia, I mean, his whole entire camp was surrounded by jiu-jitsu. So it's not like he made a huge mistake, but you know, I think he was mounted at the time and he might have turned to his hip and then elbow slid up and the RDA saw that opening and just jumped on that head and arm choke and locked it in. But I think I want to say though with Neil Magny, he's a very good fighter. When he was riding that very long win streak, he was still kind of fighting guys that were here and there. There weren't too many big names. Towards the end, he did fight some names. I mean, I remember when he beat Hector Lombard.
Right. And didn't he fight Hendricks as well?
He might have fought Hendricks. Yeah. Did he beat Hendricks?
Yeah.
Okay, so he did beat some names.
Or was that the one that Johnny came back and won? Johnny did win one fight.
Most of the names in that 7-fight win streak, when he was on a 5-fight, I remember I kept thinking like, when is he gonna call out? When is he gonna fight a big name? Because he was still fighting like random guys at the moment. But yeah, man, I guess he just kind of got his cards figured out finally. People kind of.
I guess, I mean, or just RDA's just. I mean, that's what a champion looks like. You know?
You're right. It could be the change in levels. And the one thing about Neil Magny as well, and I have nothing bad to say about him. This is all in good stuff. He is good at every area. He's very mobile. He's very long. He's got good jits. He's got good wrestling, defense, offense. He can strike, obviously, with his long reach. And he does all that very well. And so he stands out. He could beat the average fighter. He will beat the average fighter with a high percentage. But then when you put in a former champion, somebody who specializes in pressure, will take you down. If he sees a small opening, will lock up that submission. That's what happens. So he's having trouble with these guys at the top of the division.
Right. Gotcha. We're in the 4th round now. What?
Yep.
So question, and I believe we have a shot of dear Gilbert Melendez and his leg. I mean, okay, so.
Look at that. I can't even. Where's his knee? I looked at this photo for like 3 minutes trying to figure out where his knee was.
It's hard to figure it out. So Gil, as we know, like Gil is such a total freaking badass. Always has been. Guy. Has always been. Yeah, it's just one of the toughest guys ever. One of the greatest guys. He's just such a solid dude. Lil Heathen just tore him up.
I wish I need to go back and watch this fight.
It was brutal to the point where. You know, you're like wincing every time you're you know, and then you're just sitting there in amazement, like how is he still going? And I understand adrenaline and I understand this thing, but it looked like the thing that's hard, and you know, when the guys are calling the fight and you're whatever, everybody's just speculating. Oh, I think it's broken. Oh, I think this. I didn't that. We don't really know or whatever, right? Obviously, but it looked real bad. And then there's points when you know he would get kicked and he'd like fall to the ground and this and that, and then you're like, are they going to stop it for that? I don't know, but like you know. It was just one of those things where you like I didn't want the fight to stop because I'm a huge Gilbert Melendez fan and I'm thinking, you know what, this guy is good enough to just sort of not even think about this, get into a firefight and just light stuff up, and this is going to be amazing. So I didn't really want it to stop. But then when you see your buddy out there and you're like, I don't want you to like not be able to. I don't want this to be your last fight. So that was a really hard fight to watch, and it is tricky because. Not to take away from how great Jeremy was doing, but like you couldn't watch that fight and not really just focus on Gil in a way. To me, do you know what I mean? Like
like showing his grit,
his side of it, yeah. Because you sat there just going, holy crap! Oh my God, Gil, come on, get up, stay in the fight, do this, do that.
Gotcha.
Meanwhile,
which Dana White acknowledged, she was saying like tremendous amount of respect for
sure. And I don't want to discount. I guess this is my point: is I don't want to underplay how great Jeremy looked because he looked awesome.
Yeah,
he's really good.
Those leg kicks are kind of.
How bad is it? Tell us what that feels like.
And you know what? I don't feel like I almost feel like I want to teach her more because I teach, Muay Thai, and I teach her traditional leg kick, and I always tell my students, kick about 2 inches above the knee. You want to get the lower quad, that like teardrop that most people have on the outside quad. That is the high percentage target where you want to hit. But man, when you get hit below the knee in that outer calf area, that's a tremendous amount of pain because the muscle is very thin, and it lumps up right away, and it fills up with blood, and the bruising and swelling ignites right away. The problem with kicking people below the knee is you're putting yourself more at risk for damaging yourself, because now you're probably going shin to shin, so you're probably hurting your own shin, where when you go shin to quad, it's like you're feeling 10% of it, they're feeling 90% of it, so it's a higher percentage of damage on your part. But when you get it just right below the knee on the calf, like you saw in this fight, it hurts, man. It hurts really bad, and it only takes one good one. I think Dustin Poirier had a fight about 2 fights ago. I can't remember who it was, but they were hitting him below the calf, below the knee in the outer calf area. It might have been the one, what's the name? Duffy? Duff?
Joe Duffy.
Might have been Joe Duffy. That was a war of a fight, but it was one of those where I remember Poirier not being able to stand. That first one hurt him, and after that, you could just see it in their eyes. And it's hard to check because your corner's screaming check, but you have to check with your shin, and when your shin is inflamed, the entire leg just becomes swollen. So yeah, it's to grit those out is very tough. It just shows how much heart Melendez has.
Well, that's my question is, what do you do? Okay, right. So obviously you can try to switch stance.
Switch stance,
but now I'm. I mean, it's obviously Jeremy knew that he was hurting Gilbert, but like if you switch stance, you basically just told the other guy you're winning, or whatever. You know what I mean? You're
giving him that psychological
exactly. Kind of. So I can see why you wouldn't necessarily want to switch in, but that's the whole thing, right? Like you said, so you're there, you're getting wailed on, but every time you check the kick, like it's, I mean, obviously not as bad, but like 70% as bad.
It hurts. Let me see if I can show you my shin. So ideally, whatever angle the kick is coming, you want to point your shin in that direction, you know? You don't want to just stay straight on because they're still getting the meat right here. So you would have to try to find the perfect angle where shin protects it. But most of the time, you're second behind because they throw the kick and you react. So you're second behind them, and they're going to get a little bit on that meat right there. And it just hurts like hell,
It
man.
does.
It really
and in
does.
terms of the outside leg, though, it's because of the nerves and everything down there. Why you would want to try to tag the outside of the upper quad anyway, like the
yeah, I mean, and that's where your power kick's coming from. But I tell you what he should do after this fight, and I saw it. It reminded me of something I hadn't seen in forever. But being at the Muay Thai fights this weekend, one of the girls who fought, her leg was kind of swollen, and they got like a rubber type of, kind of like almost like it looked like hand wraps, but it was like a rubber, and they just wrapped her leg up so extremely tight, starting from the lower extremity and working her way up, so that it's pushing that blood out. And that's what I would have advised for him, because seeing his leg the next day.
Oh my God, no, that picture's.
It looked horrible, and that's what you got to do. You just got to wrap it so tight that it's uncomfortable and push all that blood back out towards the heart, you know, elevate it and get that out of there. But, and I think, what's it called? DMSO? You ever heard of that stuff? DMSO? We used to use that as well after Muay Thai fights. It kind of, it's a way to get, it's some type of garlic smelling thing that you get at the store. I mean, I don't know what it's used for. But like, could
you soak in Epsom salt or something to try to get the swelling down?
Yeah, I don't know if hot would be good for it. But I would wrap it. DMSO, arnica pellets, and some ibuprofen.
I was just anti-inflammatory. A little medicinal THC.
I was gonna say the Diaz brothers. Yeah. He is affiliated with the Diaz brothers. They might have some type of remedy.
Take the pain away a little bit. Yeah, it's organic. There we go. But anyway, congratulations to Jeremy Stephens, who is looking great in that division. Like he's looking great. And tough go for Gil.
Not to kick a guy when he's down, but Gil, I heard something that blew my mind. That Gil is, what is he, 4-5 in the year?
I know.
4 losses.
4 losses, I know. But this was his debut at 45 too. So like, I hope he doesn't just. I don't ever want Gilbert Melendez to stop fighting unless it's really time. He's just too fun to watch. But yeah, I know it's weird because he keeps fighting great guys though. It's
tough when you're fighting the top of the division. Jeremy's at the top of the division, but he's a guy that's tough for anybody. But all of his fights in the UFC have been against tough guys, so you have to give him that. But just to think, Gilbert Melendez, a guy that was a champion in other organizations and had such a good record, and was such a tough competitor for anybody, and now in the UFC he's 4 losses and 1 win or something like that.
It's tough. But Gil's the man. Always will be. Always will be. So, looking ahead, question for you. Luke Rockhold took over a year off. after losing his title to Michael Bisping.
Been living the life.
At 199, last June. He's coming back. He's going to fight David Branch. I'm curious for you what you think about taking over a year off after losing the title fight, because there were times supposedly that he had offered some fights and this and that and didn't take them, but that seems like a really long time. It's
an extremely long time. I would say it depends on the circumstances. You know what I mean? Right. What are you doing with your time, and why did you take the time off? I suspect that he just was burnt out. You know what I mean? He became the champion. He got knocked out, and then you get all the bad social media, you get everything, and it's just very negative. And what do you want to do? You just want to kind of separate yourself from that world for a little while to have some time, and that's what he did. From the looks of his social media, he was traveling.
No, it doesn't look like he had a bad time.
He had a lot of champagne and pretty girls and all kinds of good stuff. So I think he just did what he needed to do to recharge. It seemed like he was training the whole time, not 100%, but he was like visiting his coach in Florida.
Exactly.
He did somewhat move camps for this fight, but seeing, I saw that he was already out in Pittsburgh like 2 or 3 days ago, which was shocking. Normally we get there on a Tuesday when we fight on a Saturday. He was there like last Saturday or last Friday already. But just watching his pad work, and some people look tremendous on pad work and then they don't perform, or vice versa. Right. But looking at his pad work, I could tell from watching Luke fight over the years that he looks very sharp and very powerful. Just his flexibility and his kicks, the way that he turns over his left hand right now. I'm predicting Luke Rockhold to finish him in this fight.
Yeah, I agree with that. Maybe he went to get used to the elevation in Pittsburgh. I'm kidding, in Pittsburgh. The elevation. I don't know. It's not even Philly. It's not like he went out there to get.
I don't know why he went so early, but
I don't know.
It just shows. If anything, it just shows that he's focused.
He's focused. He's ready.
It's a good thing.
David Branch is a 2-division champion. I feel like his first fight back against Jotko was.
I don't know the guy.
And it was hard. Like he won the fight or whatever. It wasn't some great big decisive victory. I'm sure he wanted to come back to the UFC with like some big smashing decisive victory. Yeah. And it wasn't. Maybe it was jitters, even though he'd been here before and came back. So I think he is a good and worthy opponent. But Luke is massive too, by the way. Like he's massive when he on fight night.
Branch is, like you said, a guy that was fighting at 205 as well, but he's not as natural 205. Luke is the bigger man at 85.
I think and he's like Luke's just like big and tall
6'3",
right. Doing some training with Henry Hooft, I think, is a good thing for him. And I think, obviously, at AKA, you get a very specific kind of work there. And I think it was good for Luke to go and kind of try some new things and see the world and reset. I don't know what it's like to lose your title, but I guess the one thing I would think of is, taking that time off to maybe find the love for the sport again is a good thing. It's just that life goes on without you, and you're not getting damaged in your training and everything, but you're giving yourself 15 months is a long time.
It was too long.
And the last thing you did, I can see the merit in trying to fight sooner than later, because now how big of a thing is that loss? Like, how big is that loss on his shoulder? Walking in, wow, now the last time I was here, I got knocked out and I lost my belt, and then Michael's still doing it and he's winning, and now he's got the money fight with George, and I could have had that, and I wonder how much is going to weigh on
that was the word I was going to use. It's a lot that's going to weigh on you, especially walking back into the arena the first time. Those jitters, when you haven't experienced the jitters in 15 months.
It's a long time.
It's a lot to take in when most guys fight 3 to 4 times a year. So I wouldn't have recommended, if I was his coaches. He's going to do what he wants to do. But, 15 months is a long time. I'd say 6 months is an adequate amount of time for a fighter to really go and get away and do some things and travel and then come back to the sport re-energized.
But I am happy he's back fighting, because, it'll be interesting to see what happens on that one. I will be at the desk at Fox for that one. And you are going to be there with me in a couple of weeks.
I am. I'm making my, what do you call it? The UFC, not tonight.
It's
UFC.
the Analyst Desk debut, right?
The Analyst Desk debut, that's it. I'm going to be doing the UFC Japan?
Yeah.
I don't know much about it yet. I haven't been brought any of the details. But Shogun versus OSP 2.
Rematch.
I'm going to be making my debut at the desk, so make sure and check that out.
And we get to talk about Saki in that one.
I can't wait,
which
man.
Is going to be really cool.
He's making his UFC debut. And just real quickly to touch on it, on the Luke Rockhold card, the co-main, This one surprised me that it was a co-main, but either way, it's Mike Perry, my former opponent, versus...
Oh, no, that's this weekend.
On the Rockhold card, exactly. That's the co-main... Thiago Alves versus Mike Perry. That's the interesting one. I feel like Thiago Alves is not the same guy that he was a couple years ago. He's a guy that I would have liked to fight, but he was like the scariest striker 5, 6, 7 years ago, and now he's a guy that's not quite as sharp or powerful. He even, from being the biggest welterweight, now he was a guy that tested the water for 55.
Yeah.
So I don't think
he's not a huge dude, but
at one point they were saying he was such a massive welterweight. But anyway, what I'm getting at is, I don't know if he's quite the guy that he used to be when he competed against GSP, but he could be the right guy against Mike Perry, because as I showed, if you could be a little bit more technical against Mike Perry and not get into those battles because he will knock you out, he's so powerful, then you have an edge right there. And Thiago is a very technical fighter. We can see if he stays away from Mike's power, but it'll be a fun fight. But
also, Thiago's not afraid to get in a little bit of a firefight, too.
That could be the...
But I know you're right. I don't think he should. Alves was one of my favorite fighters, like you said, back in the day. Like, I always loved him.
I remember they did a count on him, and his coach was like, the pit bull loves the women, or something like that. Like the kid,
and the women were fond of the pit bull. It was cute.
Yeah, like they followed him to the club and stuff. It was the craziest countdown. Yeah, I love the women.
That's funny. All right, we got some questions here, and that because we have time for questions. Yeah.
So Dean D, long-time listener, he wants to know, Alan, he'd love to see you versus Magny, and how would you handle Magny's height and reach?
Yes,
that's the fight that was a fight that was on my radar for a long time, because he's always, once he had that 5 or 6 fight win streak and he jumped into the top 15, he's been in the top 15 for a long time. Magny is a guy that, you know what, if you could take him down, it increases your percentages, because he's very light on his feet and he uses his range very well. If you can clip him with the overhand, as we saw Hector kind of did, then you can take him out. But he also showed that he's able to weather the storm. But I think his whole would be get the tall, skinny guy to the ground where you could be the stronger man, compressing him on top.
And to that end, you've been working with Cobrinha. You've been kind of in since your last fight, you're trying to focus on that part, since you do so much Muay Thai, right? You're trying to do a little bit more of the grappling right now, and
a tremendous amount. And it's been so helpful. You normally, when I train, I do 2 of everything a week, 2 Muay Thai, 2 sparring, 2 strength and conditioning. And so you stay sharp at everything, but you don't get to really improve at anything, because anything twice a week in my mind is not enough to really improve on the fast track. So now, since my last fight, I've done only grappling for a month straight. My grappling is way back up to where it used to be. And now I can start adding other elements. So yeah, I would, but if me and Magny fought, I would mess with him on the feet and then probably look for the takedown.
Which is also why, with Luke seemingly specializing even more in his striking in this time off, he was already a good striker, but I expect him to look pretty solid this weekend.
I think his striking is going to look super
because it seems like that's what he's mostly worked on, since, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and he always had kind of an, I don't want to say underrated grappling game, but he wasn't known for his grappling, but when people take him down, he would reverse him, get his submissions. Exactly. I mean, he submitted Bisbing in their first fight and numerous other people.
Well, yeah, and you can't work out with Kane and DC and those guys up at AK and not
got to be able to scramble, yeah.
All right, what's up?
Another question.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that the UFC champions are fighting tentatively, because if they should lose, their pay scale would drop dramatically?
No, I don't think Michael Bisping fought tentatively. I think Dan Henderson almost knocked his block off, and I don't think there was anything tentative about Mike in that fight. I think he knew he's fighting for his life there. I don't think he fights safe. I don't think Tyron, quote unquote, fights safe. He fought Damian Maia the way you got to fight Damian Maia. Stuff every single GD takedown.
Yeah.
And like I said, he tore his labrum at the beginning of that fight. I'm sure Tyron would have loved to knock Damian out. You know what I mean? He just wasn't able to.
So Bisping, he takes a lot of damage. He goes in there, he fights. He doesn't really think about that. He's just there to fight. Tyron, I think he is more of he breaks down fights in his head and thinks, I need to do whatever I need to do to win. So I kind of disagree. I think Tyron does fight a little bit safer, but I totally agree. He did fight 2 guys that were specialists in the divisions. And you have to add, people gave him a hard time about not pressing the action against Damian Maia, but we didn't know
exactly, you didn't know the label was right.
I remember when I broke my hand against Bilal Muhammad, and they were like, Alan's gassing. I wasn't gassing. I had 2 broken bones in my hand, so I couldn't punch. So those little things wear on your gas tank, they wear on your confidence and things like that. So, it is what it is.
I don't think Daniel Cormier was fighting safe against John Jones.
Yeah, I thought he fought great.
I don't think Stipe fights safe.
You can't say Demetrius fights safe. I mean, he's finishing guys with 1 second left in the fight.
I don't think Joanna fights safe. Joanna goes in there just to light people.
Are you referring to Amanda Nunes? Maybe?
I'm not sure exactly which champ, because otherwise I don't think, Conor fights safe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So no, to answer your question, no, I don't think they do for the most part. I guess, yeah, like you said, Tyron would be the one people would sort of accuse that of the most.
Yeah, and you know what?
It's more of the styles of the matchups.
And all Tyron has to do is come out in his next fight and knock somebody out.
He knocked Robbie Lawler out. Hello.
That's the thing. And if I was Tyron, that would always be my argument. When people say, dude,
you seen this?
You're a boring fighter. And they go, oh, okay, because the most exciting fighter in the welterweight history, I knocked him out in a minute. So that would be my case if I was Tyron.
The guy that everybody universally loves.
Yeah.
Took him out. Yeah. Okay.
Moving on.
Let's say one last question.
Okay.
Alan, what was your toughest fight?
See, toughest fights are interesting because is it like the fight that I lost, or is it the fight that I won but I had to overcome certain obstacles? So that's,
or maybe you had a crappy camp and it was tough to actually show up on fight night.
All those are variables in it, man. So man, that's a tough one. Honestly, one of my toughest fights wasn't even in the UFC, but it was my RFA debut, and it was against a guy named Chris Spang. And the reason for that was he was a UFC and Strikeforce veteran. I was still kind of early in my career, maybe like 7-1 was my record or something like that. And I had got a concussion a month before the fight, so I couldn't spar. So going into that fight, it was a lot of things going in my head. I was like, man, I got a concussion. I haven't sparred in a month. This guy's a UFC veteran. I was questioning myself. That fight ended up getting Fight of the Year for the RFA, but it was one of those I got knocked down, he got knocked down, kind of all-out fights, ended up finishing him. But I just remember the fight was definitely tough. It was a Fight of the Year candidate, so it was a back-and-forth fight. But it was more about the obstacles. Walking to the cage, I remember thinking, what the hell am I doing right now? I haven't even punched anybody in a month because I'm so doctor's orders, let your brain heal, and I'm going into a cage right now. So that was tough for me to overcome.
Brain heal.
Yeah, that's a decision.
Like at the end of the day, I still, as much as I'm covering this, I'm always like, you guys are mental.
Why do you do that?
Why do you you just
why
really
do we do this?
Like whatever, but thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your entertainment.
You're welcome.
We do have, what's up?
Just one more, and you may not know the answer.
I do know who wins on The Ultimate Fighter this week, yes.
Oh.
I won't tell you.
That you can't tell. But do you know what happened to Frankie Edgar? We haven't heard, people haven't heard anything about him. Why haven't they talked about his fight with Max Holloway? What's going on? Or is there
I thought it
I don't
was
even know where it's
sort of yeah.
Is that what the next fight's supposed to be?
Well, no, not really, because I know Cub was trying to get Jose Aldo, and I think Frankie was trying to get Max, and yeah, I mean the last they don't really. Yeah, I don't think there's anything on that so far.
I don't know either.
I'm trying to remember if he got. No, I mean he posts a lot on Instagram and stuff like that.
But is Frankie lobbying for that right now, or is he was already?
Yeah, I mean Frankie's
kind of in that slot.
Yeah, I mean, and the way he took out Yair Rodriguez was amazing.
Oh, that was his last performance.
Exactly, so it really wasn't that long ago. But yeah, I mean, it seems like that's the next logical person. Jeremy Stevens hasn't done, and I mean Frankie's done more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'll be interested to see Yair on his return. I know since that last fight, it seems like he's been spending a lot of time at Team Alpha Male, and I suspect it's to kind of be around those quicker grappler guys, such as Frankie. So be interested to see him on his return.
Yeah, but Holloway versus Frankie be tricky because Max is so long.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And Frankie's such a good boxer, but you got to get there. You got to get inside.
Max is long, but so is Yair.
Yeah, you're right.
But Yair, I think I would say he has less octagon cage time.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Max. And Max is smart and durable.
Max has fought everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, you think Max not only is a champion, look how he performs, but he fought Dustin Poirier back in the day, and early. He fought Conor McGregor back in the. I mean, he's fought everybody early in his career.
As much as I loved Jose Aldo, like. Maxie babe. I'm a
Maxie baby.
Holloway's a dude, man. I like him a lot. I really, really do.
I wonder if the UFC sees Max Holloway, though, as a marketable guy. Obviously, he's fun to watch, but you know what I mean? He doesn't have that, like, star quality. He's not going to be the guy that's like coming out of the. He's not going to be a Conor McGregor in any type of way, and I'm not saying you need to be, but he doesn't have that like presence about him because he's like a local Hawaiian kid, you know. He just wants to be.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But he's very endearing, and his fighting style is amazing. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like,
is he going to sell the big numbers because he's a smaller weight class and he's kind of like your local everyday guy if you live in Hawaii?
Well, if you're trying to sell his fight, you just show him and Ricardo Lamas.
Highlight reel.
And then you go, this is the dude.
You're right about that.
But Lamas is back up in the mix as well. So so cool. So
Alan had something you want to mention.
Okay, yeah. So what is this?
Thank you for reminding me. Real quickly, guys, if you're in the LA area and you want to do something, get a drink and help some benefits. Yes. Wednesday night. Hope is the name of it. I gotta read it right now just because I got it sent today. I don't have the details, but it's what's the name of it? What's that?
At the Reserve.
At the Reserve, my buddy's club, Eric Cluche's club. He's hosting it. All the proceeds, the bar and everything. Bottle service. We get bottles and models, but proceeds go to helping everybody from Houston. Look at that. I'm trying to help my people in Houston. Karyn's trying to get no, but come out. There's gonna be who's hosting? I got some friends, Christina Milian and some girls like that, and any celebrities or that want to come out. It would benefit, and it's a red carpet type thing. But anyway, at the Reserve. Wednesday, 9 p.m. I believe is the red carpet time, and again, all the proceeds from the bar and everything raised that night will go to helping out victims from Houston.
What are you gonna wear?
I don't know, man. I called up Mickey Rourke. I was like, let's go kill this, man. He's talking about his fight in Russia. Yeah. Mickey's trying to fight in like December or January or something, but I'm gonna just keep it casual. You know what I'm saying? I keep it casual.
One thing I do want to also ask about or clarify. Is your car wash video from the weekend?
I don't have it.
Apparently,
you don't have it?
I don't have it. I'm sorry.
Apparently, you run like the hotness
the
like
F100
car wash service. You got your wife out there in a bikini.
I was washing. I know why. You know what? It was totally. She was in a bikini sunbathing in the backyard. I was washing the car, and I was like, babe. Let's get a little video. And then my buddy Brent, he kind of did his little thing. He had some soap on his chest, and then he was kind of thrusting. But it was a funny video. It's on my Instagram. I had some weird comments. I think somebody thought that was me instead of my buddy Brent. He's my boy, but he's like 5 feet tall.
Come on.
Just saying it. He's a lot shorter than me. And then somebody else said, "Is that KB?" And it was my wife. I mean, like. They're both very pretty girls with very good skin.
But like,
my wife's Thai, she's Asian. Yeah, straight Asian hair. So anyway, though, it was a good time. We got to get the truck clean.
I love it. I love it. It's good stuff. So yeah, so this week we're back with UFC tonight. It's been off for a couple weeks. We're back with that. We have Tough Talk as well, and then Friday and Saturday I'm on the job for fight night and stuff. So it's good stuff. And I'll be catching up with Evie this week also for Trocasel because she was in Edmonton and everything, and obviously gets all the story from Amanda and all the stuff, and Rafael dos Anjos and all that. So we'll get some good stuff as well.
Cool deal.
Yeah. So on social media, you can find me at Karyn Bryant on Twitter, KB Heat on Instagram. You're watching the Karyn Bryant channel if you're watching this on YouTube, so while you're here, you may as well subscribe. Thank you to those. We hit over 100,000 subscribers, which is awesome. You guys are totally awesome for that, so thank you. Here, I'm going to flash you. See? Here. I flashed you guys for that one. So.
You guys should have seen that.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
So let's get to 200,000. You get to see them both. So that's it. So where are you on social media?
Check me out, guys. At Alan Jouban across the board.
Boom. Boom. All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us, folks.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it.
See ya.
Peace.
Just hold on. Let's see where it's closed out.
It's flashes. That's funny.